Hello. I would like to say a few words why Eastern Christianity matters even now for our days. That it is not just an object of interest for archaeologists, for the students of antiquity, that it is relevant to our days, to our societies, to our churches. Um, when we look at the current developments in Europe and elsewhere in the Middle East, in Africa, in the areas where Eastern Christianity was historically present and continues to be present, we can see that the conflicts in those areas, and those conflicts include wars like the ongoing war in Ukraine, or the war in Georgia that happened in 2008, or the war in Tigray in the Horn of Africa, or the war in the Middle East, in Syria and elsewhere. All those conflicts and wars, they are to different degrees underpinned uh, by the traditions that are present in those areas. Because people who participate in those wars in different ways, in different roles, either by supporting those wars or opposing those wars, they affiliate themselves with Eastern Christianity. Therefore, to understand those wars, one has to take into consideration the Christian tradition that is dear to people who are involved, who are present there in those areas. One would say that uh, those wars consist of yes, of weapons of violence, but also of ideas, and many of the ideas stem in different ways from Eastern Christianity. They stem either in distorted ways, as a sort of deviation from the normativity, from the orthodoxy in our lexicon uh, of uh, of uh, of our theology, or uh, some prophetic voices are heard against those wars that also stem from the same tradition, from the same Eastern Christian tradition. So that's another reason why to study Eastern Christianity. Um, a very particular aspect of Eastern Christianity is relevant to these situations. It is called political theology or public theology, and it has to do with the role and the place that the church has in the public square. Even though the phrase public square is new, was coined recently, a few decades earlier, but the church has been present in the public squares since its beginning. Probably the first example, the first case of such a presence of the church in the public square was Apostle Paul's um, uh, um, uh, visit to Athens, when he, on his way to Areopagus, the place where he addressed the Areopagites, the members of the council, of the Athenian council, he uh, strolled through Agora, the marketplace, the Athenian marketplace, the place where all the interactions between the citizens of Athens took place. And Paul became a part of those interactions. He addressed people in that public place, in that public square, and explained to them about Christianity. That was probably the first encounter of the church represented by Paul as its apostle with the square, which was not particularly ready to listen to him, was not particularly ready to accept his message, and yet eventually that square converted to Christianity some centuries after Paul. So after that, a long journey of Eastern Christianity in its relationship with the state and the society began. Eastern Christianity, of course, for most of its time, was relevant, was related to the Eastern Roman Empire, either by being included in that empire or being excluded by that empire, and the latter relates to the so-called Oriental churches, the churches that flourished outside the Greco-Roman world, in the Syriac world, in Africa, represented by the Coptic, Tewahedo traditions, and so forth. So this relationship with the empire shaped in different ways Eastern Christianity. But even after the fall of the Eastern Roman Empire, which happened in the mid-15th century, the successors of that empire, either it was the Ottoman Empire, which claimed some succession to the Greco-Roman world, or the new Slavic empires, the Bulgarian, the Serbian empires, and later on the Muscovite state and Russian Empire consequently, they succeeded the Roman Empire in the way how they treated the church, how they related to the church, and in a sense, what is going on now, even after some of those empires collapsed, still is influenced by the historical memories about the imperial past, which is still somehow relevant for those churches. The churches struggle to deal with their past, their imperial past. They either reject it or accept it or try to elaborate on it. In any ways, it is always a difficult, sometimes painful process. In our school, we try to study the churches in the public square. We try to study the churches in their relationship to their past. And we try to help theologians and future leaders of those churches to deal with their future, to carry out their understanding, their knowledge about Eastern Christianity to the future of those churches, to make this future better than their past was, to overcome the preconditions that had led to the wars and conflicts that I mentioned in the beginning, and to envisage a new future for the churches, a future without those strings attached to the past, in the sense of the kind of the unsuccessful pages of the church's past, and to draw from the successful pages of the church's past. That's why we study our past, the past of the Christian tradition, with the idea not just of studying it for the sake of the academic interest, but also in order to design a brighter future for the church, to deal with the current problems, the problems of the present. So our studies of the past, our archaeology, so to say, is not self-sufficient. It aims at making the life of the churches today more relevant to their tradition, to the call of Jesus, and to the call of their own people. The students in our classes, they learn how to listen to the voice of people. We believe that Vox Populi is often Vox Dei. The people's voice often represents what God wants about His church. So that is the dimension in our studies, in our school, which is very important for us. The dimension that starts in the past, goes through the present, tries to bring some solutions to the present, and continues into the future. Our purpose, our goal is in the future of the church, in the future of the people of the church, in the future of our students.